Why would a pig dressed in black never get killed? Because Batman swore to protect Gotham. Welcome to Shave&Butcher, where you get the comedy gold. Today I'm going to experiment with different size brushes. So there's lots of them, different bristles, obviously, synthetic, natural hairs, etc. But also size varies. The length, the size of the fan, the diameter at the bottom of the knot, etc. So how important is that to your shaving and to building a lather? Well, opinions vary quite a bit. So I'll be comparing three brushes today. This huge one, 30 millimeters at the bottom, synthetic from Maggard's. This teeny little, this is my smallest, this is from 1899, we think, English bridal. So it's a super old, well, the hairs will be younger, of course, but it's a really small one. I don't have the dimensions, but you can see the difference. It's huge. Well, I'll compare that with call it a normal brush. This is, I don't even know how big this is, but this is probably at the bottom 24 millimeters, I think. So you can see the difference in size. Now, at the width, where the bristles top out, you can see there's a difference when you squeeze them together. This will absorb a lot more lather than the smaller ones. So to do the experiment, we'll use Palmolive shave stick. So no loading. Well, should I do loading? Yeah, maybe I should. I changed my mind. Loading is kind of important, isn't it? So we'll pick a brush. It's, what do? We do Artisan from France. This is Fislade La Rosée du Printemps. The rosé is dawn, I think. This dawn in spring. Beautiful, beautiful, quite soft soap, but a very normal soap, modern soap these days. So start off with a huge one. Get that properly wet. Now this is synthetic, so you don't have to soak it. A natural hairbrush, you do want to soak for a while so that the whiskers are basically filled with water, and that way they don't, well, that way they absorb the right amount of soap. Now this, just remember why I never use this brush. It's bloody hopeless. You got to get all the water out of it, otherwise it's gonna drip all the time when you load it. So obviously a large brush, especially if it's dense and has a lot of hairs in it, will require more soap to be loaded in order for the surface soap, the attainable soap, to be of enough quantity so you can build a lather. So I'm loading this quite heavily. Paint it on like usual. Now when you splay a large brush, it covers half your face. This is an easy soap to lather. Sorry, cleaning the nose out, why not? Yeah, easy soap to lather. It's quite forgiving. That's painted on the face in a good way. It has this toothpastey sort of quality. Then I dip the tips of the brush into water. Paint that in as usual. And this is so dense, it sort of sucks to the face. And it really is more brush than you need to. But it works fine. It's a bit harder to maneuver, but obviously good if you want to build a lather that lasts for 3 or 4 passes. A large brush will save a lot of lather in the interior of the brush. So as you build this, you add more water, you'll be able to generate lather for, yeah, as I said, plenty of passes. But it works fine, good lather. If I was shaving with this, I would add a bit more water, but you don't have to. So what's left in the brush after one coating is all of this. So it's a large, very large quantity of lather, as you can see. Okay, so let's try the little one. This will be about 10 millimeters in diameter, maybe 25 in the loft. So huge difference in terms of loading, and the biggest difference using a really small brush is how much lather it can hold. So obviously important to load this quite full, and what you can do is you can scoop out whatever you have left in the container. That way you get more soap to work with. Naturally, if you want to shave 3 or 3.5 or 4 passes, it will be more of a challenge with this one. But I have done 3 passes with this. So not the driest of soap, of lathers. Could have used less water, and that way I would have had more water in the brush probably. But you see difference in size of the knot, very obvious when you splay it. Still, you know, this covers a decent surface of the face. Same technique. Soap plus water plus agitation is how you build a lather. And we have this toothpastey consistency again. Less soap, but still enough to work with. So dipping the tips, a bit more careful in how I put this under the tap, because it's so small that if I use too much water or hold it for too long, I can basically take all the soap out of the knot. Probably a similar amount of water that I added on with the maggards, at least that's what I'm trying to do. This feels more like a paint job, you know, than with a huge brush. You need to pay a bit more attention. But as you can see, this will create a lather which is pretty much the same as with a huge knot, and it will still hold a decent amount of lather. about the same consistency as we had before. So that's good for one pass. So how much soap do we have left? Not as much as before, maybe half or a third, but that's plenty good for another pass, another 2 passes, in fact. Cool. Let's work with a normal sized brush. Okay, so normal sized brush, about 24 millimeters at the bottom. I don't know how high the loft is, but it's very much in the middle in terms of size compared to the 2 previous that I used. So loading, medium time to load. Modern soaps, you don't need to lather for very long. That should be plenty. Same procedure. I'm getting rather clean. I don't think pre-shave will be needed. Quite a bit of bubbles in the lather. Same procedure. Working the soap into the whiskers. Soap plus water plus agitation is what creates the lather. Now, this is the size I'm most used to, so I really don't pay very much attention when I build the lather. It's a good soap, it's a familiar brush. I know I'll get a workable lather out of it, and we'll do the same thing. We'll put a bit more water in, although this was slightly more hydrated than the previous lathers. But I know from experience that working the lather and then taking a pause to put in more water, working the lather again, and possibly repeating that a few times, depending on what you need and depending on the soap. That gives you a better lather than if you just whack it on. Yeah, quite possibly a bit wetter than the other lathers, but very serviceable. Now I wouldn't shave with this. I would work it one more time, put more time, put more water into it, but as you can see, a good coating for a first pass. How much do we have left? Quite a bit. I have left as much as I had in the Maggard, basically, and I can fill it with even more lather if I want to, and if I spend more time on it. Okay, recap. Okay, so I did get a shave in with the last lather. I did put on the matching aftershave, La Rosée du Printemps. So in conclusion, all these 3 work. These are 3 very different sizes. The biggest one holds more lather, requires more soap, and a bit more elbow grease to operate, basically. But it works fine. The little one is quite charming, and I do appreciate shaving with really small knots, and perfectly possible to do it. You need to make sure you have enough lather. You may want to go back to the puck if you're doing 4 passes, but 3 passes, 2.5, 3 passes, plenty with 1 load, works very well. Normal, call it normal size brushes, the sort of 24, 26 millimeter diameter brushes with a normal loft is what I'm most used to. probably the most convenient for a 2-pass or a 3-pass shave, and there's plenty of them and different kinds of hairs and all sorts of things. But size matters, but all sizes work very well. Thank you for watching. Stay sharp.